Hey everyone, I hope you're having a nice relaxing weekend. Today on the show, I have Maria Quaban, who is a technology expert. You guys may recognize her from Good Day LA, as well as MommyLovesTech on YouTube. Thank you for coming on the show today.
I'm really excited to be here. You know I love to talk tech.
So today's question comes from Taryn, and she asks, what age is appropriate for your kids to start using technology? For example, cell phones, iPads, and the internet, and how do you teach them about internet safety? Okay, Maria, let's answer the first part of this question. What age is appropriate for technological stuff?
Well, this is a really good question. In fact, the American Pediatrics Association has finally weighed in because this is such a common question, and they have finally given their recommendation. And they recommend that if you're 2 and under, they really don't want you to be interacting with any technological items. And I kind of agree with this. If you're 2 and above, then some slight, introduction to an iPad or whatever. But here's something disturbing that they found out is that if most 8-year-olds today spend an average of 8 hours with some sort of
to me.
media.
I don't even know how you get 8 hours as an 8-year-old if you're going to school all day.
You would think, but that's what they spend between television, smartphones, iPads, computer, which, as a parent, I can only recommend having a balance.
Yeah. So
while the Pediatrics Association recommends 2 hours, I think that's a really good number to work with, you should balance that with outdoor activities. You know how important that is. You're a mom, and as much as time you spend on, say, a computer, which is really good, by the way. Kids today really need to be involved with technology because you can do it for schoolwork. You're just more ahead and advanced in today's world and society, but you have to balance that with physical activity outside. So as a parent, you have to use the common sense approach when it comes to first introducing technology to your kids.
when did you let your kids start using a cell phone?
That's a really good question. I have an older son and I have a younger son.
Right.
My younger son just turned 3, so he does use the iPad a little bit during the day.
Right.
I usually hold it as a reward, for like, hey, you need to go on the potty now. For potty training, that's how I'm trying to help him to potty train. But my older son, he's 26 now, so back then we had the computer, when he was a teenager, but I gave him a cell phone when he was 12.
Yeah, that was me too. My girls were 12, but we made them sign these big old contracts, like with all the rules,
the
responsibilities, and even the etiquette to using a cell phone, because there is an etiquette. And then if they don't do that, I just rip out their contracts, and I'm like, hey, do you see this?
Follow through.
You signed it.
With the consequence if they don't follow the rules. I think a lot of parents start as young as 8, but I think as a general rule, I think when your kid is out and doing their own extracurricular activities outside the home and outside of school, I think it's a good idea to give them just for an emergency cell phone, because as parents we want to stay in touch with them, and they're often being shuffled through grandma or carpool. So I think 8 to 10 years old would be an appropriate time to have a special emergency cell phone.
Right. What about use of the internet? Now I know this one's getting more and more complicated because school is really starting to teach the kids to use the internet very early. I mean, I know my first, second graders come home with school projects on the internet.
Oh yeah, they're introducing it in preschool.
Yeah. Between
preschool and first grade, and I think it's really good. I mean, there's so many educational games, apps on the tablets and the computer, and I think to keep our kids competitive, especially where our world is going, we need to teach them. Could you imagine learning how to write code in first grade?
No.
I mean, that would be beneficial for them in the future. So we cannot take away the good that comes with technology. Now the bad, like you said, we have to limit the time that they spend on it, obviously. And as far as the internet,
what about like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube?
Oh, social
sites.
That's a whole different thing. Let's start with the internet.
Okay.
I think the internet, we really, as parents, have to educate ourselves first and foremost, because these kids are so savvy. They know how to get around certain privacy and security settings.
Yeah.
So you need to be up on this stuff before they are. And then also too, when it comes to the internet, I look at it this way, the analogy of, would you send your kid outside of the house, put them on a bus and say, goodbye, I'll see you 10 hours from now, and not know where they're going?
No, of course not.
Exactly. The internet is the same. The internet is the world. They have access to everything on the internet. So you really have to look at it that way. And you have to set rules and boundaries, like you said. And these are some of the things that the American Pediatrics Association recommends. They recommend that you have one family computer.
I completely
that
agree.
is connected to the internet. And you should have it in a central place in your home. They should never have one in their bedrooms. And you should have privacy settings set on the internet or your smartphone, because a lot of kids have smartphones, not just those old school cell phones that can just make phone calls. And there are apps out there for parents that track what your kids get in terms of text messages, how they surf the internet, which websites they go to, and then the social sites. Now, mind you, at 13 is the youngest you can have an account for Facebook.
Technically, yeah.
Technically. I know there are kids that are younger that can get around that. And again, parents, you need to know exactly what's going on with your kids. You know, you have to, again, use the common sense approach, right? Talk about age-appropriate subjects when it comes to internet and internet safety. You watch those specials about predators.
We're very open with them. And I've let my kids watch a couple of the like 2020s or whatever on internet predators, because I want them to understand really what is out there, what can potentially happen. Not to scare them to death, but just to make them aware so that they're not naive about it either.
Yeah, because they're still developing. And honestly, the kind of bullying too that kids go through, you know, was one thing back in the past where you would get bullied on the playground. Now kids go home and you get bullied at home even. Even when you're sitting in the same room with your kids, you should know, you know, like the living room is down the hall or whatever, and they're on the internet. They may be being bullied for all you know. And because you're in the safety of your home, you're on the internet, it doesn't apply anymore. That's like being out there in the real world. So you really have to know what your kids are doing as a parent, and tell them that you have their passwords and that you can at any time see what is transpiring in regards to their activities online.
And I would add, communicate with other parents. Kids are networking all the time through technology, and so I think it's really important for parents to be doing the same. You know, if you see something going on with another child on your kid's social sites, maybe clue that parent into what's going on as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And have that communication with your kids. You know, obviously you don't want to be spying on your kids or, you know, going to their personal or private accounts, but you know, if you're a child or if you're a teenager, you have to let them know that if you're posting something, say, on your social network like Facebook, you really should think twice about posting, because A, it could affect you and your career in the future. And I know it's hard for them to think that far down the line, but it is true. Whatever you post online is there forever. So they should really think about, well, could I show this to my mom? I think the rule of thumb is the P's. If you can show what you're posting out there or writing to your principal, your pastor, or your parent, then you should be able to post it online. But you have to think about it in those terms. So as you know, technology changes every day. There's new things on the market. So it's so important for us to stay educated and ahead of our kids.
Which is hard at times.
It
but
is.
Yes, stay ahead of them.
It is. But we can do it.
We can. Maria, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time and all the tips and everything else.
Oh, yay. Thank you for having me. And I love your channel. I love all of your hairstyle tips. I do use them on a regular basis.
If you guys want to see more of Maria, be sure to check out her YouTube channel, MommyLovesTech, and I'll put a link in the description box below. So my question to you guys is, how do you guys stay safe on the internet, and how old were you when you started using the internet? Leave a comment below, and we will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.